Hi, this is Trisha from Lemon Paper Lab. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use one of my pattern starter templates. The template we are looking at today is template H. It is designed in a 1-to-1 ratio at 7200 pixels by 7200 pixels. This template will be available to download in my Patreon page. I also have this template and more in my Ultimate Pattern Maker Toolkit for Photoshop, which includes all of my Photoshop templates and actions to help improve your workflow when designing in Photoshop. And I will leave a link in the description below to both my Patreon page and this toolkit. Currently, I have the template open here. Looking at the layers panel here, we see we have 3 smart objects, and then we have our template folder, which just shows the various repeats of these objects. Let's go ahead and click into our first object here. We'll double click to open our smart object, and then we see that we have a repeat here. Again, we have another smart object that we can edit, and then we have our template of the repeat. So let's go ahead and double click into this smart object here, and then here is where you can add your design. So currently I have an example pulled up, but let's go ahead and create a new layer. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the visibility of that layer, and then let's go ahead and create a new guide layout. So I'm going to go to View, Guides, New Guide Layout, and then let's use 8 columns and 8 rows, and that will just give us a framework to work with. Go ahead and select the rectangular marquee tool, and then here at the top you'll just want to make sure the Add To selection is here, and then you can just go ahead and select some of these layers. We'll select 2, maybe we'll select 3, 2, and then let's go ahead and select 1 here. And then with that selection, to fill it with our foreground color, I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut. That would be Option Delete for Mac, that would be Alt Backspace for PC, and that will just fill in our selected area. And then I'm just going to go Command or Control D to deselect those pixels. And then from here we can save this, Command or Control S to save it. We'll jump back into our original object. It's been updated here, so we also need to save this smart object, Command or Control S to save it. And then we can go into our full template here, and it will be updated here as well. Here's the area for object 1. Let's go ahead and exit out just so we can clean up our area here, and then we'll go ahead and go to object 2. That would be this area here. So we'll double click. Similar to before, we have another smart object to click on. We'll turn off this example layer, bring up a new layer, and then let's go add those guides. View, Guides, New Guide Layout. Let's go a little bit smaller on this one, 10 by 10, and then we'll click on OK. And then for this one, I am just going to add a bunch of little ones, so it's obvious that we've made a change. So we'll just go along this diagonal line. And then you don't have to just stay along the diagonal. You can add in additional areas as well if you want to. So let's just see how that looks. Option Delete for Mac, Alt Backspace for PC to fill that area in. We'll go ahead and deselect those pixels, Command or Control D to deselect. And then we need to save this smart object, Command or Control S to save it. We'll jump into our smart object here. Let's go ahead and save this as well. Command or Control S to save it. And then we'll see our full template here. And we can see that we have made a change to that area. And then we have one area left, and this is our smart object 3. So let's go ahead and exit out of these ones for our object 2, just so it's easier to work with our tabs. And then let's go ahead and jump into object 3. Double click here, And before we begin, I am just going to turn off the visibility here. I'm going to save this Smart Object, Command or Control S to save it. Looking at our template here. And when working with this template, you do not have to have this additional Object 3. You can go ahead and turn it off and then work with just these 2 layers if you want a little bit less design. It's really easy to remove this additional object if you want to, if you just want to create a little bit of a more simplistic design. I just wanted to show you that as an option as well, but let's just jump back into Object 3. We can turn on our example layer here, and here you can do anything if you want to add an additional element. So let's turn on a new layer. We'll turn off this example layer here. And then let's go with something as simple as just adding a circle. I'm going to hold the Shift key just to keep it proportioned. And then let's go ahead and line this to the center of our canvas here. And then let's just see how this looks. Command or Control S to save it. So you can do something as simple as adding a dot to your design. And then let's go ahead and duplicate that layer, Command or Control J. Let's move it slightly. And then I'm going to hold Shift and Option just to size it in. Clicking on Save there. And then just clicking on both of these objects. Let's just go ahead and combine these. So I'm going to go to Layer, Combine Shapes, just Unite Shapes so it behaves as one. And then we'll go ahead and align that new shape to our canvas. And then let's go ahead and save it, Command or Control S to save it. And then there is a bit of a directionality to this. We can see that these ones point in and these ones point out. And then I'm going to go ahead and save this as a pattern. So you can go to Edit, Define Pattern here, or with the Patterns panel. If you do not see your Patterns panel, go to Window, selecting Patterns here. So click this plus icon, and then you can give your pattern a name, clicking on OK, and then we can see our saved pattern. I'm going to open up a new document here, so let's go File, New, just using the same dimensions, 7200 pixels by 7200 pixels, clicking on Create. And then I'm just going to bring up that layer as a pattern fill layer. And then let's go ahead and scale it down a little bit here, just so we can see more of that repeat. And then we could always add a color here. I'll leave this one black. Right click, create clipping mask, and then let's go one more color fill layer. Let's just pick a random color here, and then we'll bring this one to the back, and then that is our background color. So you could always change your color if you want. Make this one white. When testing out patterns, I like to play with two-tone. So in order to do that, you have a white color fill layer, and then you just bring the opacity down to 50%. That way, if I change out a color here, that secondary color adjusts as well. So that just kind of shows you what this template does. So if I just turn that one on, bring up my original, we'll go ahead and save this, Command and Control S to save it. We'll look at our template here. Let's save this one here as well. And then we'll test it out here. Maybe pick a new color. So this is just a fun template to play with, where you can play with this concept and create your own fun, unique designs. I hope you enjoy using this template. This template will be available to download in my Patreon page. I also have this template and more in my Ultimate Pattern Maker Toolkit for Photoshop, which includes all of my Photoshop templates and actions to help improve your workflow when designing in Photoshop. And I will leave a link in the description below to both my Patreon page and this toolkit. This is Trisha from Lemon Paper Lab. See you next time.